Welcome to this explainer. There is actually a hidden mathematics behind global power and corporate dominance. According to the fascinating work of Haluk ÜNALDI, there's a very specific formula that dictates why some entities rise up to become absolute powerhouses, while others, despite having literally every natural advantage in the world, completely fail.
Think about it for a second. Why on earth do massive, resource-rich empires just collapse, while tiny, seemingly disadvantaged nations end up thriving and taking over the world? I mean, we usually assume that raw resources, massive populations, or prime real estate are the golden tickets to success, right? But raw potential on its own, it's completely useless. It's really just one piece of a much more ruthless puzzle.
To solve that puzzle, we use ÜNALDI's power equation. It goes like this. Power equals PV plus POV, multiplied by ST times SP times PW. I know, it sounds a bit like alphabet soup right now, but stick with me. In international relations, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's a diagnostic tool. It moves us away from just counting tanks or measuring landmass and introduces behavioral strategy to calculate a nation's true, actionable strength.
All right, let's break this down. Part 1, the power equation defined.
So, a country's raw assets basically fall into two buckets. First, we have present values, or PV. This is the stuff you already have in the bank: your history, geography, population, and your current military or economic strength. Second, you have potential values, or POV. That's your future economic, technological, and military capabilities. The first bracket of our equation simply adds these two together to create a baseline score. But here's the catch. A massive baseline score is totally meaningless without the second half of the equation.
Which brings us to part 2, the ultimate multipliers.
Now this is where the real magic and, frankly, the real danger lies. These multipliers form a non-negotiable sequential pipeline. First up, ST, strategic thinking. A nation has to conceptualize a path forward. Second, SP, strategic planning. Okay, you have the idea, now you actually need the blueprint. And finally, PW, the political will to implement. A nation must possess the sheer, stubborn determination to actually execute the plan.
And why is that pipeline so non-negotiable? Well, because of one unforgiving number: 0. Math doesn't care about your potential. Because ST, SP, and PW are mathematically acting as multipliers, if any single one of them is 0, the entire second half of the equation completely collapses. If a state fails to plan or just lacks the political will to execute, its massive natural resources and potential multiply by 0. The result? Absolutely 0 true power on the global stage. No way around it.
Moving right along to part 3, from nations to corporations. Here is the truly brilliant pivot in ÜNALDI's analysis. This exact same geopolitical formula, it actually applies flawlessly to the business world. It's like a perfect mirror. Just as a country relies on geography and military history, a company's present value is its history, its financial structure, human resources, and its customer portfolio. This is the absolute bedrock of what the company brings to the table today.
And of course, a corporation has its potential values too: future financial strength, tech adoption, market competitiveness, all that good stuff. But you can add those present and potential values together all day long. Without those strategic multipliers on the right side of the equation, thinking, planning, and will, that company is going absolutely nowhere.
Because the corporate pipeline is exactly identical. Step 1, generate that strategic thinking. Step 2, carefully plan those strategies out. Step 3, corporate will. Does the company have the actual grit to implement the plan? This pipeline dictates whether a business can organize its resources and actually drive an idea through a stubbornly resistant corporate culture all the way to completion.
But let's step back for a second. What actually is strategy in business? Well, ÜNALDI argues it boils down to one simple thing: making a difference. No matter how incredible your history or massive your production capacity is, it's just not enough. Without the strategic thinking to stand out in the marketplace, you cannot be a powerhouse. Strategy isn't just some daily to-do list. It's your ultimate mechanism of differentiation.
Which leads us perfectly into part 4, innovation and ultimate survival.
ÜNALDI defines innovation like this: the successful implementation of creative ideas that emerge within the organization. Notice that wording. It's absolutely crucial. True innovation is not just having a good idea. Actually, scratch that. Having a good idea is merely strategic thinking. Innovation is the successful implementation of it. It requires that entire multiplier bracket in action: the idea, the plan, and the organizational will to see it through. So, what happens when a company totally drops the ball on this pipeline?
Well, they just fall back on basic day-to-day operations. Strategy is the engine that multiplies your baseline value and builds a true powerhouse. Operations, they just keep the lights on. Companies that fail to strategize and execute are trapped merely getting by. They're surviving, sure, but their true power multiplier is hovering dangerously close to zero.
Because here's the harsh reality. Surviving purely on day-to-day operations is just a dangerous waiting game. It works completely fine, right up until a strategically stronger company, one that has totally mastered its multipliers, decides they want your market share. Survival mode isn't a strategy at all. It's really just a waiting room for your own disruption.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to really look at your own organization. Whether it's a scrappy little startup team or a massive corporate enterprise, are you truly multiplying your values with clear strategy, rigorous planning, and the sheer will to execute? Are you actually making a difference, or are you just surviving day to day, counting down the minutes until a stronger competitor comes along to take your place?